fish on a small Dick Knight. Extremely tough day. I put on that copper Dick Knight, not the smallest one, but it's pretty small. And about 10 minutes I got a hookup. See if we can get him in. He's jumping like crazy. Man, when the going gets tough, that Dick Knight is dynamite. Dick Knight, baby. He's not a monster, but is not easy today. Oh, fish on the other rod. That one's on a worm. Get this one back in the water. That was on the Dick Knight. Pandemonium breaks out. There we go. Go figure. I hadn't had a strike all morning, and that's practically a double hookup. That's more like it. That's some action. But see, I was doing all my power trolling stuff as usual. Extremely tough. I broke out a Dick Knight and a threaded worm and a blade, and clearly turned my morning around. Nice fish for French Meadows, that's for sure. Wowzers. So, got that teardrop shaped blade. Control these up to about 2 miles an hour. 1.5 is perfect. And pop this fish off here. Howdy folks, I'm back from the high Sierras. That's about a 2-hour drive back to my house. I got all my gear put away. Usually I do these, at home segments a day or two after I get done fishing, but today I really had the itch to grab the camera and fire it up. Part of what I think makes me a successful fisherman is I spend a lot of time thinking about my previous trips, and that usually starts right away. Sometimes it starts while I'm still on the water. I do a lot of reflecting on what was working, what wasn't working, and make future decisions based on that. I think there's a lot to be learned from today, and I'm super bummed that the wind drove me off the lake. Just based on what I saw there right at the end, the last 15 minutes, I felt like either the bite had really turned on or I really got dialed into what the fish wanted, or both. I think it was more my approach than the temperament of the fish. So let's kind of take the broad view look. I trolled for 3+ hours this morning as I set out on the water with 0 results. But while I was getting 0 results, I was marking fish, and I actually saw some fish come up to the surface and take stuff off the surface. Not like a full-on surface feeding event, just fish that were obviously cruising and looking for targets of opportunity. So let's start off with, we'll talk about the stuff that didn't work. And anybody who tells you they have something that works every day, all day, day in, day out, a lot of lure manufacturers, man, they'll tell you that the only thing that'll work is this lure, and it's great and it catches them every day. It's not true. Every day on the water is different, but with experience, you start to rely on, look at that wind. That's what drove me off the lake. I bet it's just white capping like crazy up at French Meadows now. Anyway, it's day in, day out experience on the water that kind of tells you what works and what doesn't for you, and that's how you start to establish your confidence baits. So let's take a look at what I used today got my actual Home Depot compartment box here that holds most of the lures when I'm out on the kayak. This goes under my seat. I have my big backpack, but this is the stuff that I use, you know, on a minute-by-minute basis. Started off the day using a Arctic Fox, couple different colors, the tube flies. I haven't showed these to you yet on the channel, but I'm about to do a video on these. I started out with these tube flies. They usually work great, and they look much better than that. That one's still wet. It looks like it had a tough night out at the bar, but it's still wet, so it's not looking its best. But I started out with an orange tube fly and a black tube fly. Using my lead core rigs, I trolled one at 5 feet, one from 15 to 30 feet deep, depending on the marks. Zero action. I decided, well, that was at about 2 miles an hour, so I decided, well, I'm going to bump up my speed. So I grabbed a large, kind of a medium large, Yo-Zuri El Minnow. I tried these in both the silver and blue and the rainbow trout pattern. And I paired those. I ran that down deep, hoping for a brown. I was marking some fish down there. I ran that from 15 to 20 feet deep. And up top 5 to 10, I ran a copper speedy shiner, which has been a deadly lure at French Meadows in the past. Again, on those, not a touch. I downsized one size smaller on the Yo-Zuri El Minnow. I trolled this one for about an hour. Zero, nothing. Again, I was working those deeper marks that I took to be browns. They had no interest in this. So I wanted to keep up, you know, the fairly fast theme. So I put on a pair of humdingers from Max Lure. I used my red and gold, one of my High Sierra favorites. Nothing. Down deeper, I ran a pink and chrome UV model. Nothing. I've killed them at French Meadows on this lure in the past. They would not take a swipe at it. So I decided, well, I better slow down. So I broke out my tried and true orange and brass. Wow, that hook is sharp. Orange and brass cripple lure. Ran that up in the top 10. Nothing, zero. And when I was running that up top, I was running this gold and pink stripe 1/4 ounce Castmaster. I was running that from 15 to 35 feet deep. I was hitting the marks with it, and they wanted absolutely no part of it. So about that time, I'm thinking, well, I may be getting skunked. Little talk about the conditions. I had basically a half moon, not a full moon. I had a little bit of chop for most of the morning. Surface temperature 59 to 61 degrees. Optimum conditions. Clarity was good. Water was clear of debris largely. I mean, I was up there 3 weeks ago. There was debris everywhere. Debris was gone. I was marking fish. You know, it's one of those times when you're scratching your head. I'm on the marks. I'm using my stuff. It's not working. I've literally caught thousands and thousands of trout on those lures, and you're like, they're just not biting today. I tried, you know, 3 different scents of Procure. I tried it all. Last thing for me to do, break out my slow confidence presentations, and here's what I was using. Rod number 1. This was the deep rod. This is the lead core outfit with the 60-foot fluorocarbon top shot that I use for fishing anywhere from 15 to 30 feet deep. I armed this with a Strike Master. This is a Sepp Strike Master. These are sold under several different names. I think they come from Silverhorn, I'm not sure. But anyway, the Strike Master. You could troll this up to about 2 miles an hour. 1.5 is optimum. And behind that, I was running, gosh, I want to say that's an 18-inch leader. And I didn't have a special length on the leader. It was one I grabbed out of my box, and I did not have one of those slow death hooks rigged up on a leader. I didn't want to take time to rig it, so I was using this river style hook, and that's a number 4. So that's about 18 inches behind that. It's just a chrome on chrome blade. This thing has a really good kick, and when I put it on the water, and once I got a half a worm on there, I really like the action. Get a really good pulse on the worm despite that little bit of a longer leader. It just looked like money. My expectations were low because I'd had so many fish reject me throughout the morning, but I put this down. I put out 2 colors of lead core, so I was back maybe I don't know, 70-ish feet, and I figured my depth with that blade would be maybe 12 to 15 feet deep, because that blade is heavy, you know, it's gonna run down a little bit. I tried to stay at 1.5, so I got that down there. It was working. I was getting a nice, you know, I could see that blade working on the rod tip, so I was feeling good about that presentation. My other rod, this is more my my surface lead core rig. This is the one that has the 60-foot top shot, so I control it with 1 or 2 colors, still be well behind the kayak. By the time I got this out, I'm getting a little more vigorous, you know, chop on the surface. But like I say, I'd had chop all morning, but and I'd seen some fish right underneath the chop, come up right in that chop. You know, that's one of the things about fishing out of the kayak. Fish will come right up to the kayak. And I saw fish come up and just kind of take targets, what I took to be targets of opportunity. They could have been, you know, anything. Could have been bees, whatever. Something floating on the surface. They saw it. They took a liking to it and they grabbed it. So with that in mind, I knew I wanted to troll about 4 to 5 feet deep. So this rod, the holder I had it in, it's, you know, it's scoped up pretty good. So I put out 1 color of lead core, 8-pound test leader, and this isn't the smallest Dicknite. It's the next size up. I'm not sure what number that is, but it's not the smallest. It's the next one up, and I just put copper on copper. That's a color I've had success with in the past at a number of different lakes. It's got some flash, but it's not as flashy as chrome, but it's got a little bit of flash. I like copper colors, especially when the bite's tough. So get those in the water, and you know, you'll see the results on the video. The Dicknite got hit first. Nothing crazy, just a pan-sized rainbow, but I was glad to see him. That took the skunk off the boat, so I got him in a net. I was in the process of unhooking him, and that worm rig just got slammed. Essentially, it was a double hookup. So I tossed the little rainbow. I got on the pedals a little bit, make sure the hook was set on that. I started fighting the fish, and I thought I had him foul hooked a little bit, but he actually wasn't fouled. He was just a husky fish for French Meadows. I mean, Lake Elminor, he wasn't anything special, but at a lake, you know, French Meadows, where the biggest rainbow I've ever caught up there is about 18 inches. He was a handsome fish. He fought well. He was hooked right through the lower jaw, and that river hook, it did a great job, a fantastic job on him. And anyway, I got him in, got him released. He was acting a little sheepish on the surface, which you'll see a lot of times, but I came back around. I immediately poked him with the rod. I knew he was fine. As soon as I touched him on the flank with that rod, he was gone. So he's out there swimming around somewhere, waiting to see me the next time I go up. So repositioned the worm was still fine. Got this back down, immediately got hit again. Turned the kayak to go with the wind. As I was turning, I had a fish chewing on the worm. He ended up messing the worm up, but he didn't get it in his mouth. He didn't get hooked. And then, you know, I'm getting more and more white capping, and I'm just basically floating down the lake. I'm just steering the kayak, and I'm going 1.8 in the wind. And at that point, I kind of got off the spot, and I think that is a interesting point as well. I like to troll structure, especially when the water's fairly cool. I like to get on structure. I like to get on contours. I like to work stump flats, you know, anything that provides structure and feed. If that area fails me, my next area to work, and I'm talking any lake, is the area right over the main channel. Don't know why. You can be in Shasta. It can be 300 feet deep. Fish gravitate to that main channel. And the same is true at French Meadows. Same is true at any high mountain lake. I got out over that main channel, and that's where I was making my first pass with this gear when I hooked up. When that wind got popping, though, I moved in closer to the launch ramp, and I was over some attractive structure, but I wasn't marking fish in that area. I wasn't feeling it. That was more of an area just to spend a little bit of time to see if the wind was going to relent any, and it didn't. It intensified, and it worked out good because I was right by the ramp. Got the boat on the land, got the trailer, and actually got to meet a couple fish sniffer readers. They were cool fellas. They fish French Meadows every single year, so they were having a good time. They hadn't caught anything this morning. They reported the same thing as me. Tough bite this morning. Rapala is the whole thing. Everything kind of failed to work, and then they were in a tin boat when that wind got popping. They were experienced Sierra guys. They were like, "We are out of here." So we went in at the same time. But anyway, the big point to take away from this, and I know I'm rambling a little bit, I rambled into kayak, you got to have confidence baits. Start out, and I sound like a broken record, start out aggressive, work those aggressive patterns. When that isn't working, you need your absolute, my back is up against the wall, I need my fallback pattern. And there's a number of things that will fill that bill. For some guys, it's the old curly tail grub. For some guys, it's a woolly booger fly. For other guys, it may be the Castmaster. It may be any number of things. You got to answer that question for yourself. But when my back is against the wall and I need to slow down and I really need to show those fish something that I feel they have a high probability of hitting, number one, threaded worm with or without a blade. Today I had some surface chop. I didn't think the blade was going to hurt me, and I knew with that Strike Master I could troll it nice and slow. So number one, worm, give them the real meat. I slathered that worm with anise krill procure because that's my hands down favorite trout scent, and I was really going for success. I mean, I was trying to check all the boxes of my confidence baits. On the other rod, no brainer, the Dick Knight. If you want to troll a small spoon, you want to go slow, you want to show the fish something that's not going to spook them, that's probably going to get, pique their interest a little bit, go with that. I also put the anise krill on that. I put a little dollop right by where the hook connects on the back. And I'm not one of those guys that thinks you need to put a gallon of Procure on your stuff. Fish are very sensitive. They're very dialed into their environment. So a little dab. And I've seen fish on a camera come up to troll baits, and they'll get right behind that bait. So just a little whiff of scent is often all it takes to close the deal. Anyway, those are my observations on the day. Final word, remember, everybody can catch them when the bite is wide open. It's a good fisherman that can turn, lemons into lemonade and catch fish when the bite is off. The bite was definitely off today, and I got several strikes out of the deal. I got a nice rainbow. I got 2 fish. Skunk was off the kayak. I'm home, and I'm going to write that one up as a successful outing once again. Lucy the fishing dog and I, we had a good time today. So anyway, those are my observations on the day. I'll be reflecting on this some more, I'm sure. But anyway, I'm signing off for now. This is Kel Kellogg. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do. And I'll catch you next time right here on YouTube. Thanks for the support, guys.